So just to summarize this information that you saw on the page above this video floating around, persuasive versus informative tone. We persuade because we want the audience maybe to believe our argument, to change their opinion, or to convince them to think differently about something, or to make them take action to change something. That's usually our goals when we persuade. So it's very difficult, actually. So as you learned, ethos, we can persuade through the rhetorical appeals of persuasion, which are ethos, pathos, and logos. I wanted to break down those in a little more detail. Ethos is your credibility as a communicator. That could be in any form of the following. It doesn't have to be every single example, but these are just different ways to use ethos when you persuade. Sharing personal experiences to gain trust. In my experience, using a phrase like that related to your topic. Maybe something you witnessed that is crucial to share. Maybe you need to reference somebody well known related to the topic that you're writing about, or a celebrity endorsement, or a public figure. You know, you see in advertisements, celebrities don't have expertise usually in the products that they're trying to sell you, but they're there because if someone likes them, they want the product maybe. Just to be confident in your tone is using ethos. So a way to be confident is to avoid ly words, um, or using words like I think it should be this. Just be positive. It should be this instead of I think. Get rid of the I think or I really believe or I believe. Keeping those ly words out. But don't be overconfident. It's so easy to use. Like I think one example I read was something like, I can do it with my eyes closed. It's so easy to type this. You don't want to be confident. You don't want to be arrogant. Be honest. Be honest, clear, and transparent. Reference someone if needed. Reference a public figure if needed, but don't overdo it either. Here's an example. As someone who worked as a barista at Starbucks, Dunkin' Donuts, and Peet's Coffee, I've experienced different brewing processes. I'm happy to report that my training at Dunkin' Donuts prepared me into becoming a skilled barista. Ben Affleck, a major Hollywood actor and director, visits his local Dunkin' Donuts in Hollywood, California. He's in all the commercials too with J-Lo. His support shows that Dunkin' Donuts has quality coffee and hardworking employees. I referenced a celebrity because if somebody likes him, they'll get excited, but I was confident in my tone, sharing my experiences. By the way, if your experience doesn't match up perfectly with something, that's okay. Don't say that it doesn't match up. Say what you can do and what you learned and why it would help you. Remove all the can't or doesn't work perfectly or things like that. You, explain why your experience matches whatever it is that you're writing about if it's relevant to the topic. So that's using ethos. Pathos is the emotion. Any kind of emotional language, tone words, vivid detail. Now, it's not like a creative writing class where you need to be poetic, but sometimes if you're trying to describe a place that you want the audience to visit and you need to persuade them to go to that place, the beauty of it, capture the beauty of what it looks like, sounds like, smells like, feels like, tastes like, things like that, that's okay. Vivid detail really helps the audience understand what you're writing about and picture it. So that's using the five senses, sensory detail to describe a setting, a place, or an idea. If you're interested in this file, there's a link to how to write with sensory detail that can expand your creative writing a little bit. Using powerful words or just emotional words or personal stories that connect to the intended emotion. Personal stories can be part of pathos, can be part of emotion too. My heart fluttered at his gorgeous smile. I smelled the lemon zest from across the room and thought back to a time in my childhood where I made fresh lemonade to sell and it made me feel complete. The words in bold are descriptive words that just help persuade a little bit more if you're trying to convince the audience to try something or to think about something or to think about their childhood or a memory. A visit to Dunkin' Donuts makes my heart skip a beat. I picked up my order and the coffee steam hits my nose. That's that sensory detail. This aroma is nutty, yet has hints of sweet chocolate. It takes me back to my childhood when my parents would take me to the store to pick my favorite candy bar from the endless options that faced me. Only a coffee order at Dunkin' Donuts transports me back to this cherished memory. I want the audience to think of a happy childhood memory to relate on the emotional level. So it's using emotion in your persuasive writing. Logos is the last rhetorical appeals. It's using logic, using facts. If you need to break down an idea of something or a concept or a plan that you have with the audience, what is your plan and breaking down that plan? An explanation of how something works, explanation of how something was created. If you purchase this, or if you consider this idea, or if you donate, or if you go to the meeting, then you will be informed of important information. Cause and effect. Those are types of, if you do this, then this will happen. It's a little bit of logical fallacy, which you have to be careful with. Statements that sound logical but aren't. But it's just an explanation of something factual, then that helps the audience. Using facts that don't require citations or heavy research. Examples of facts that don't require those types of citations, because you don't want to, depends on what you're working on. This is a general lecture just on how to persuade. So it just depends. I mean, if you're writing a research, if your assignment is more research based and you need citations, you need research and in-text citations, then that's good. But if you just need to provide some factual information to the audience that doesn't require heavy research, that's okay. Common knowledge is great. These are different examples of common knowledge. The sky is blue. Thursday is before Friday. Alexander Graham Bell invented the telephone. St. Patrick's Day occurs on March 17th. Anything with a date in history. Those don't have to be cited. It's factual, so you're not plagiarizing. If it's on a billion different websites, you're safe. In this file, under logos, you'll see more information, a link that gives you more advice on what doesn't have to be cited for logic. Dunkin' Donuts first opened its stores in 1950. There are close to 12,000 stores in the US. Because it's been around for 20 years longer than its competitor, Starbucks, it will continue to outshine them, using dates to make a point. So when you combine these three examples, I've got some credibility here about my experience and referencing someone. I've got emotion, and I've got facts. Those combined together makes it gives oomph to the persuasive strategy. So use these strategies in your writing if you ever need to persuade. It helps you with your writing. It helps expand. Use all those links to really guide you as well, plus this video and PowerPoint. Why is this different from informative writing? Persuasion is very difficult. I mean, even just talking about food, some of you may have disagreed with my Dunkin' Donuts example, and that's fine. But something lighthearted like food is hard to convince the audience, so let alone something very complex and serious. If we want to change the audience's viewpoint, or at least think about something different than what they're used to, it's tricky. So those three rhetorical appeals combined really helps with that. But informative writing is important too, and you might need to just inform the audience. It's where you present factual information only, just so the audience is aware about the topic, so they learn something about the topic. Persuasive writing digs a little deeper. It might have informative information, but it's trying to get the audience to think differently about something. It should still present factual information, but it needs to be more persuasive. Think about these sentences. Which ones are feel free to pause and think about it. Which ones are informative and which are persuasive? The meeting changed from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. That would be informative because I'm not convincing you to go to the meeting. I'm not convincing you to change the time again. I'm just telling you, hey, the meeting changed. That's it. It's informative. The meeting moved to later this afternoon. Missing the meeting will cause someone to fall very behind with updates and they will be at risk for termination. Now, it's informative at first, telling you it moved to later this afternoon. Also telling you this is what happens if you miss, so I'm persuading you to go to avoid termination. So it's more persuasive than informative. Broccoli cheddar is a type of soup. That's informative. I'm not telling you an opinion about it, I'm just telling you that it's a type of soup. Broccoli cheddar is a delicious soup to try because of the warm melted cheese with the healthy vegetable. That word delicious shifts because somebody may disagree and think it's gross. So I'm sharing my opinion, so I'm persuading you to try it. This is why I think it's good. Vampires are a type of fictional creature. That's informative because I'm just telling you that of the fictional universe of creatures, vampires are one of them. I mean, unless you think they're real, then you're going to go into the argument that it's persuasive, but it is informative because I'm telling you they're just a type of fictional. I'm not sharing an opinion about them. The history of vampires should be studied because their fascinating tales of suspense will make someone's skin crawl. That word should is a good indicator that my tone is persuasive because I'm saying this is why they should be studied. This is why they're fun to read about. If somebody disagrees, that's fine, but I'm trying to convince them to consider it. So if y'all have any questions, use the resources though to really break down ideas on how to persuade with your writing, more importantly, because it takes a little bit more effort when you have to persuade, but it gives you more to write with in a good way.